Welcome to the Produce Moms Podcast, where we believe there is a produce mom in all of us. I'm Lori Taylor, founder and CEO of the Produce Moms. For 10 years, I sold fresh produce to over 300 grocery stores in the U.S. And today, my team and I are fully focused on inspiring people to eat more fruits and vegetables. This show is just one of the ways that we hope to inspire you and your family to eat more produce and live a better life. If you like what you're hearing on the podcast, join our community of almost 40,000 in all 50 states and over 30 countries by visiting theproducemoms.com/subscribe. And be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. Thanks for being here. Enjoy today's show. Welcome back, everyone. Today on the Produce Moms Podcast, I am thrilled to welcome our guest. We are joined today by Stefani Sassos. She is a registered dietitian. She's actually the registered dietitian at Good Housekeeping. She serves as the head of the nutrition lab there. She has an incredible background. She's done everything from clinical work to, the wellness lab and the nutritionist work that she's doing at Good Housekeeping. She's board certified in oncology as a nutrition specialist, super unique specialty within the field of dietetics. She's a fitness instructor. She's a superstar. She and I met at one of my favorite places in New York City, Balducci's, for tea and coffee last time I was in that great city. And it's really a pleasure to bring Stefani Sassos, registered dietitian for Good Housekeeping, onto the Produce Moms Podcast today. So Stefani, thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Lori. What an introduction.
Oh, well, it's been a pleasure to get to know you.
Yeah.
And I mean, we met right before the world changed.
Oh,
literally 2 weeks before the world changed. When I was in New York City was when you and I met. And
yeah.
It's been great to stay in touch with you, though, over these last several months through social media and email and preparing for this episode today. I really enjoyed getting to know you. And of course, I smile every time I get my Good Housekeeping magazine and I see your name and your column and all the great work that you do with that iconic publication to really elevate wellness.
Thank you so much. So sweet.
Yeah.
And likewise to you. Just such a pleasure meeting you and just all that you're doing just to promote, such healthy habits within families and children is just incredible. So kudos to you.
Yes. I mean, we can all agree. Everyone listening to today's show can agree. It always comes back to fruits and vegetables. It always comes back to increasing your consumption of produce and volume and variety.
Absolutely.
And it was that shared passion that really helped Stefani and I kick it off that day at the cafe there by the Hearst Tower. So, yeah. So Stefani, let's start with a little bit of background. Tell us more about yourself. Introduce yourself to our listeners today, and tell us more about how you landed with this incredible role at Good Housekeeping.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good question. So like you said, I'm a registered dietitian. I'm also a personal trainer. So I have a huge health and fitness background, and I worked clinically for many years. I was a senior oncology dietitian at a hospital on Long Island. And so with that, I really just got fully immersed in cancer nutrition. And that really does reflect my nutrition recommendations. Even now, just having that background and knowing what I know and going for advanced board certifications, it's something that I really do try and tie in to everything that I put out to, our readers. So that is something about my past that I think is super unique and really has given me such an appreciation for, food is medicine. I think a lot of times, we think about nutrition and we think dieting and this and that, but food really is medicine and it is so powerful. So that's such a huge component of where my mindset comes from. And I also ran my own private practice, and there I focused on, primarily weight loss and also different types of digestive issues, things like IBS. So that was fantastic. And I've freelanced my whole life in terms of writing. I love to write. I've done a lot of media work as well. And so, this job just kind of fell into my lap, and it's been an amazing journey so far, and just really combines everything that I love about health and nutrition and fitness. So I'm able to write about these things. I'm able to, test different food products, test different fitness equipment and things like that. And also, head up our whole lab. So it's really been a great journey.
Speaking of testing the food products, first of all, when we met that wonderful day in New York City at Balducci's, you brought me down the almond butter. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah, it was delicious. And anyone, you can follow Stefani on her Instagram, and she does a great job of showcasing all of these amazing products that, purveyors and manufacturers and growers throughout the whole world are sending to the Good Housekeeping Institute for, the nutrition lab validation to kind of, they're pitching it to Stefani for potential media coverage. It's fun following you. Yeah. And I want to also provide a little accolade for one of your recent works. You mentioned you like writing, and if for those of you that aren't subscribers to the magazine, I do say, go ahead and do it. It's like a cheap luxury. Yeah. And it's wonderful. It's a little gift in your mailbox once a month. But if you are hardcore, not into magazine subscriptions, you can enjoy Stefani's work at goodhousekeeping.com. She writes on all sorts of hyper relevant topics. And one that I really enjoyed and needed, frankly, I really needed this, Stefani, 13 ways to prevent stress eating at home.
Yes.
According to a registered dietitian. I mean, oh my goodness. Yep. How many of us were struggling with that over the last 2-3 months, right?
Oh yeah, it's so true. And that's a huge thing is I really do look, towards our readership, like what do they want to hear about and what are things that are so pertinent? And we really do try and put timely content out there. And not only that, there's so much nutrition misinformation out there, right? Yes. And that's always been like my goal from day one as a registered dietitian was, to put out like credible, legit, evidence-based nutrition content to as many people as possible, right? And to educate in a way that I'm reaching as many people as I can. And that's why I started writing and doing these media things. And now I have such a huge platform with Good Housekeeping, to put out good content because there is so much junk out there, and even like you were saying with the different foods and stuff that were sent, I get a ton of things sent to me for editorial consideration. And only it's a very, very select few do I mention that, to me meet the appropriate nutrition criteria to help you live healthier, but also taste really good because you shouldn't have to sacrifice that, if you're trying to make healthy changes in your life.
That's right. That's right. No, it's so true. And, you mentioned that one of the, something that's at the forefront when you sit down and write these articles for Good Housekeeping, whether it's the magazine, online, through your social media or otherwise, the forefront is what is relevant to today's world and to our target audience. And so when you and I were preparing for this episode today, we kind of went through that same practice. And one thing that we're really going to focus on during our conversation today is family meals, getting children to eat more fruits and vegetables, different ways to incentivize the process. So let's go ahead and kind of dive into that topic now, and would love to get, your passions, knowledge, and insights on the benefits of family dinners and meal times with kids.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, that's why I had discussed this with you I'm getting so many questions on this right now. And, I think it's a really difficult time for all of us. And a lot of us are just feeling lonely and anxious. Me and my husband, like we're such positive people, but even during this time, we're getting super anxious, just being pent up. Right. And so I think family meal times are more important than ever right now, just to create some type of unity in the family, to be connected, to, really have an opportunity for meaningful communication at the end of the day. And like, I know in our family, a lot of times, during the day, especially when you're at home, now you're quarantined, you're on your phone all day. You could be eating meals in your bedroom, the kids eating meals and watching TV downstairs. And so it really is important to make sure that at the end of the day, we're all taking time to just come together and regroup and have, a moment of, just being connected with each other. Does your family, do your kids eat in their rooms? Do they eat in the kitchen?
Well, prior to COVID, all of that for sure, and then when the shelter in place and the schedules got wiped and we found ourselves pretty much just at home with nothing to do but be with one another. You know what I mean? It was, that absolutely, when I look back on the last few months of my life, that's the silver lining, is my family was enjoying meals around our kitchen table in a way we haven't in the last 2 decades. I mean, it's unbelievable how this pandemic has brought families back together around the kitchen table. And we're fortunate that in my household, you know, I mean, it was a positive thing. We were able to do that without, you know, some of the stresses that, you know, we know that there are families that battle food security in the United States. And, you know, we work hard day in and day out in agriculture to bring that food security to, you know, to households everywhere. But that's been the silver lining for our family, has been that time around the kitchen table together. Talk a little bit more, Stefani, if you don't mind, about some of the really compelling things that you shared in our pre-show conversation about how the benefits of family dinners and mealtimes on some huge societal issues, like drug and alcohol use, academics. You know, how does instilling those healthy eating habits, how does it really all begin at home around the kitchen table?
100%. So, you know, something as simple, right, as having a family dinner and just getting the family together for this sort of unified meal, like you said, has really crazy benefits that sort of transcend everything. So the first thing with kids, we see better self-esteem in the research with kids who are having regular family dinners at home, better academic performance, right? So better grades, lower rates of drug and alcohol use, which is crazy. And I think a big portion of that is, you know, when you are spending more time together with your child, you're kind of more in tune to their mood, you know, and what's going on with their life. And you're talking about these things. So I think that really does have huge benefits. But not only that, when we turn to the health benefits, right? Healthier eating habits, you know, more fresh produce consumption for these kids that are eating with their families, less sugar, healthier body weight, and even lower likelihood of developing disordered eating, which is a huge issue.
Very much so, especially with the rise of social media. Anyone with a preteen or a teenager in their home, you absolutely that point that Stefani just made has to hit home with you. Disordered eating it's a concern for all of us. It doesn't matter if you have daughters, sons, if they're 12 or if they're, 17 or even younger or older. Like, I mean, it affects all of us. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, it's huge. And even just lower risks of depression with these kids that are eating more family meals at home, which is crazy. And, I think a huge thing about nutrition, like we just mentioned a little bit before, is, it really is about, balance and variety and moderation and showing your children, these nutritious foods. And I think so much, we see foods as the enemy or your best friend. And, food is food. Food is for nourishment, and it's so important to be sharing that with our children and instilling those healthy eating habits and those healthy eating practices and a healthy relationship with food at a young age so that it really does benefit them, as they grow older, which is so important.
So important for sure. And to emphasize on a point that Stefani just made, children have to see you eating fruits and vegetables as their parent. The concept of role modeling, it's so powerful. It made its way into the dietary guidelines for Americans. Like, that's how important it is. And, and really a quest that we've been working on since I launched the Produce Moms in 2012 as a basic blog. Like, one of my goals was, hey, we got to make fruits and vegetables something that kids want to eat, not something that kids 100%. Have to eat. And that journey really does start with the adults in their lives, showing them that that you as the adult are choosing to eat the fruits and vegetables, and choosing them often and in a great variety. So, it just have to emphasize on that point, because the concept of role modeling is so important. And with the rise in at-home eating and the family time around the kitchen table, man, we are all in a much more empowered spot now as it relates to how we can impact our children simply by showing them that now's the time to walk the talk. So
it's like monkey see, monkey do, right? Like I think about my nutrition background and why I even got into nutrition in the first place. And that was because of my parents. Like, I came from I call it a big fit Greek family. So my parents are, super active, and I grew up with the Mediterranean diet. So I learned about nutrition from a young age from my mother. And my father was, he played soccer in college. He was an NCAA soccer referee. So I got this, seeing my parents wake up every morning, exercise, love working out, love creating nutritious food for our family. And, that's what really instilled this passion in me from a young age. So it is so true, even if it doesn't end up being your kid's career, it influences your child as they grow older, as they build relationships. Like even my husband, is so extremely health conscious, and that's something that we're able to bond over. So I think it's so important, like you said, just being that role model for your child, and being open to trying new different types of produce, right? And making that, a fun interactive thing, like at the grocery store, having your kid every week, let them pick out what's going to be the fruit of the week, the new fruit of the week, or the new vegetable of the week. We've been doing that. We've been doing papaya. It's like a kick for us recently. And we've been doing, the different types of kiwis. And so just kind of, really embracing that with kids, I think is so important. I remember you had just done something on Instagram recently with the apples in the little bags, things like that, just things that are easy for kids too, that look fun, and they're enticed to eat. Is just so important to encourage.
That's right. And it's gotta be easy for moms too. And that's, or whoever's whoever's prepping the food. And that's one thing that we are always pushing ourselves to at the Produce Moms. And I see that with Good Housekeeping's media efforts and platform as well. Like it's very obvious, Stephanie, that, in the nutrition lab, you do have a focus and, making sure that people know this is accessible. You can do this, and empowering people with tips on how to do it. So let's talk a little bit now. One thing with your background with, fitness and your passion for whole wellness, nutrition and fitness alike. Let's talk a little bit more about what you're doing at Good Housekeeping with the Wellness Lab.
Yeah, so that's really cool. So we have seven different testing spaces at Good Housekeeping in the Institute, two of which are the Nutrition Lab and the Wellness Lab, right? So the Wellness Lab is this really amazing space that's a little bit newer than some of the other labs. And so in this particular lab, we're looking at everything wellness, whether it's fitness equipment, whether it's meditation apps, yoga mats, what have you. And so we're really trying to build that because we're seeing wellness as this emerging area in holistic health. And there's so much interest in wellness, especially now, now that we're quarantined and at home, self-care, taking care of you and making, time for yourself. Because one thing I've learned, especially with my clinical background is, nutrition and wellness, it's either a way to fuel your body and nourish your body and create longevity, or it's a way to fuel illness, right? If you're not taking care of yourself, it's really our first way to sort of, prevent disease and, encourage more longevity in our life. So right now in the Wellness Lab, we do something really cool called Wellness Wednesdays, which are something that I kick off with the Good Housekeeping team. And this is just in the her staff right now. And so every week I either lead a workout or a meditation. And this is something that we hope to expand on a wider scale. So that's been really cool. And we also are just doing, tons of different virtual wellness events through the lab, which is awesome. And a lot of the content that I'm putting out now, we don't really have a huge fitness wellness presence, but now we're really building that. And, now things that I'm testing with our chief technologist, best dumbbells, best kettlebells, best, like smart meditative yoga apps. It's been really cool to see what's on the market, what's legit, what really is worth it. And we're also looking at resources that are free for people,
That's
right?
Huge.
Because
that's huge.
Huge. Everyone's tight on money right now.
It's got to be accessible.
Yep. It's got to be accessible. And it also has to be accessible to you wherever you are, right? And, that's the beauty of this smart technology is, being able to, look at progress on your meditation apps, look at, different challenges on the yoga apps or whatever it may be. So it's been really cool and such an honor to be building this lab up and creating more of a presence in wellness for us, in addition to complementing the nutrition, because
they go hand in hand. I mean, they each one, you know, and I think any of our listeners can identify with that. On the days when you're disciplined with working out, you're more likely to eat nutrient dense foods and be disciplined with what you put in your body. On the days when you are when you're very good about putting the best foods in your body, those are the days you're more likely to invest the extra time in working out. So it really is just this super complementary circular pattern of life. And I'm very glad to see that Good Housekeeping has brought a dedicated space within the Institute to wellness. Yeah. So talk a little bit, I got excited there and kind of cut you off, I think, but talk a little bit about the nutrition lab and the work that you do there.
Yeah. So the nutrition lab is pretty extraordinary. Like I said, it's one of the 7 different testing spaces at Good Housekeeping in the Institute. And so with that, we are rigorously analyzing and assessing all the new trendy nutrition topics. A big part of my job is just keeping up with the research, right? And, you know, in turn, almost translating that, right, to the reader, because research can be really, really complicated. And these long studies, you know, what do you need to know, right? What's going to help you right now in your life and living the healthiest life you can? And so, you know, we're looking at fad diets, trends, and we're, you know, looking really, really deep in the literature to see what is legit, what is evidence-based, what can work for you. And I really do feel like there is no one size fits all approach to diet, right? Yeah. Except for eating more produce. I think that's like universally important, right? And that's something we can kind of all agree on. But, you know, figuring out these different diet trends, is there something you can take from it, right? Because there is always something, I would like to say at least something positive in different diets, whether it's, you know, eating less refined sugars or drinking more water, right? You can always find some maybe pearl of nutrition wisdom, but maybe the rest of it's junk, right? So figuring out, you know, what works for you. And another part is analyzing all different food products to see if they meet the criteria for the Good Housekeeping seal and the Good Housekeeping Nutritionist approved emblem. And so with these things, not only are we looking at nutrition and ingredients, but we're also looking at claims on products, right? So, you know, if your product says on the label that it's no antibiotics, gluten-free, no hormones, we have to validate that. And believe it or not, a lot of companies, you know, can put these things on their labels and it's falsified. So it's really our job to make sure that whatever marketing claims are on the product, that they are in fact true and that they are validated and that they've provided to us, you know, really legitimate documentation.
And that's, I mean, that's what the Good Housekeeping brand's all about. And that's what that's what the Institute, I've had the pleasure of touring the Institute. Gosh, I've been there 3 times and walked through the whole thing. And yeah, it is amazing. You've got like the textiles and the electronics, and I don't know all the different labs that you have, but and just that wall of fame when you walk in and you see all the different products that Good Housekeeping validated for over the last 100 years in consumer products, and also the products where they you know, they called out those falsifications, like you were just saying, you know, and so it's
big time.
Yeah, it's really neat, and you do have that. You've got a huge audience, and you've got a huge brand to represent. So it's, you know, you're doing good work, and you've got a tremendous amount of responsibility because of the masses of people that are trusting you, as well as this century-old brand that's rooted in consumer trust. So yeah.
There's such a heritage to the brand, I think. And, you know, there's so much integrity to Good Housekeeping, right? Like every single lab. And it's so funny, the Institute, my husband calls it the Willy Wonka factory. It's just like this amazing space, like, you know?
You keep turning the corner and it's this other, like another little lab. It's amazing. I agree.
It's so cool. And, you know, in every lab is just people top of their field, you know, scientists, PhDs, masters, whatever it may be. So it really is an honor to be there. And, you know, our readership trusts us. They come to us for the leading expertise, and also that they're going to know that this product is what it is, does what it says it does, the claims are 100% legitimate, and that's why the Good Housekeeping seal is like backed by warranty. There's just so many parts of the brand that have so much integrity, and that's why there's so much trust. And really looking at the quality of these things, because just the pitches, the emails I get every single day, all these different brands are trying to hop on different trends. And just because something's trendy doesn't mean that it is legitimate, doesn't mean that it is a quality product, right? Like sometimes it's going back to basics. And a big part of my job, I really like to promote the things that are going to be produce based, right? So whether it's, different types of frozen produce, like I love how we've done like all these cool things over the years with making produce like really accessible and really fun, like spaghetti squash, already done, and you don't have to even put it in the oven. It's frozen and you just warm it up.
Veggie noodles and things like cauliflower crust pizzas, things where you're incorporating the produce right into some of these iconic comfort food dishes and making it the easiest choice for families. I agree. And look no further than the produce department when you're trying to elevate your life. And to Stefani's point, the influence of the produce department is spreading throughout the entire grocery store. It's a really exciting time for fruits and vegetables.
It's so true. Yeah. And like you said, you're seeing it everywhere, and I think all these different types of produce that we're seeing, like different ways, different types of oranges, different types of strawberries, like how they're growing these things and how they have different flavor profiles, or like cotton candy grapes. There's all these different really cool things out there now that are really expanding produce and just making it so much more appealing to not only adults, but also kids.
Isn't that the truth? Yes. Yeah. So, we're closing in on our time here today, Stefani, but I would love to get maybe a couple action items with all the research and work that you've done at Good Housekeeping. I'd love for you to leave our listeners today with, a couple or your favorite tip on eating healthy and nutritious foods and making that fun. I think that's so important for families. It's got to be fun to keep the kids engaged.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So one thing that we've been doing in quarantine, our family, we've been doing like, Chopped, the show Chopped.
Oh yes.
So you're finding like what foods are, in the pantry. So using that and really incorporating more produce. And it's been such a fun thing. Like, every Friday or Saturday night, doing this really gets the family involved, really gets the kids involved. So that's been fantastic. But I think when it comes to, basic things that you can do to benefit your health, I'm a huge, huge, huge proponent of drinking water. I think hydration is the number one thing that you can do for your body. And that in turn leads to just you feeling better and making better choices with your food and nutrition. So definitely staying hydrated, of course, making sure that you're eating more fiber. And, at this time, obviously there isn't like a ton of things to look forward to, but making the family meal something where you involve the kids, right? You have them, maybe rip the lettuce leaves for the salad or wash the tomatoes, whatever it may be, but really getting the kids involved and sitting down to those family dinners. They just have nothing but benefits, right? There's nothing that's a con about having that designated family meal time and really centering it around wholesome, nourishing foods. So yeah, those are definitely my top tips.
Love that. No, I love that. And, we recently, the pandemic accelerated this. It's a content series we've been kind of mulling over for a few years. And we just launched it. It's Eat Your Fruits and Vegetables Like Your Favorite Animals. And I know you've seen it on our Instagram.
Yes, I have. I love that.
And it kind of taps into what you were just saying, make it more of an adventure at home. And that's exactly what we feel this content series is doing for families. We're getting feedback now. We're on, I think we just published our fourth feature within this new series. So we had the brown bear and we did the giraffe and we've had the red panda and we've got, iguanas and all sorts of cool stuff coming up. So
incredible.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a great series. But it's been a lot of fun, getting the feedback from the families where it's like, wow, my kid's favorite animal is the brown bear. And I never until tonight have been able to get my son or my daughter interested in eating salmon or blackberries. And we did it by telling them it's brown bear food, or this is what bears eat. Yeah.
Oh my God. I love that.
Yeah. So I think that to Stefani's point and to what we've learned at the Produce Moms with this new content series, sometimes it's just bringing that creativity into the home. And I think that our children, especially, they were exposed to that day in and day out from teachers. No one does this better than teachers. And with most, with schools being shut down early, and now most kids on summer break, it's definitely a way, something for all of us parents to kind of think, how can we bring that impact into our home? And I think you can do it with with fruits and vegetables. It'd be a very great exercise for everyone.
100%. I love that. I think it's just such a unique thing, and it makes it so much fun for kids, and like you said, they would never eat those foods, but now they're so enticed to, it really is a creative twist. And I commend you for such a brilliant idea. It really is.
Thank you. Yeah. We're looking forward to building on it. It's not going anywhere. It's just getting bigger. So, well, Stefani, we are at the end of our time today, but we do have a fun tradition where you actually get the closing word, the last goodbye. You get to sign off from the show. But before I throw the mic back to you, everyone, of course, like I said, you can connect with the work that Stefani's doing at Good Housekeeping by following along with Good Housekeeping online on their social media. You can follow Stefani on her social media, connect with her on LinkedIn, etc. But you're going to love what this woman's putting out and the impact that she's making at Good Housekeeping, especially with the launch of the new wellness lab and, the continuing to improve all the great work that they're doing in the nutrition lab too. So, Stefani, thanks for being our guest today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure, and love the work you're doing. Really amazing.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Produce Moms podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a featured guest, just send an email to Lori@theproducemoms.com. We know there is a produce mom in you because there's a produce mom in all of us. Join our community on Facebook and all social platforms. Help us change the way America eats. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.